I'm Tyler Kettle, and this is another reading of In Space No One Can Hear You Clean. At this point, we have Matt kind of going through his kind of weird dream sequence and reaching the end of it. And his past the part where he's kind of put himself back together. Now he's running to Roxanne. I run across that flat white space. My whole body felt as if it was energized, like someone had powered up all my circuits and told me to run. Okay, I don't have circuits, but you get the idea. Suddenly, a huge rocky mountain appeared in front of me. His appearance was so sudden that I almost crashed into it. Coming to a stop before it, I looked up at it. I saw ledges and filtered rocks jutting from its rocky surface. I stared past all of that and glanced at the cloud-shrouded summit. It was massive and terrifying, but a feeling of sorts told me that I had to climb this mountain, even though my own fear wanted me to run away. I touched the hard surface and found it to be dry, and I could make out a series of handholds leading up the mountain. I grabbed the first handhold and hoisted myself up. Then I grabbed the next one, and the one after that. Within a minute, I was several feet off the ground. No going back now. Onward, upwards, and forward, but never backwards, right? As I climbed, my bare hands ached in pain. I tried to ignore it while wishing for a good pair of gloves. Soon my muscles also started playing. To push those feelings away, I thought of Roxanne, the last movie I watched, Alien, if you're wondering, and Queen's Don't Stop Me Now. Halfway up, I thought about looking down, more so out of curiosity than fear. Although I knew that if I did that, those feelings of curiosity would turn to fear. So I kept my gaze on the rock face in front of me, better to keep my eyes forward. My hands and the rest of my body started to scream in pain. It was so loud that not even the high notes from Freddy could keep that screaming down. But I had to keep climbing. If I gave in to my body's complaints, I would end up down below, dead. Fear took over a bit and caused me to climb faster. I desperately did not want to die. So focused on my desperate avoidance of death, I did not hear the voice at first. Matt, hello, Roxanne called out, ripping me out of my thinking. Looked up and saw her smiling down at me from the next ledge, the one that was only a few handholds, only 10 handholds or so away. Roxanne? I asked, grabbing another handhold. Of course, it's me, silly. Now get up here, she yelled, pushing strands of blonde hair away from her blue eyes. As if I was fueled by a fresh injection of energy, I climbed faster than I had before. My body still yelled in pain. My fingers bled, leaving spots of blood behind on the rock. Yet I kept climbing, knowing that Roxanne was waiting for me was all I needed. Climbed and climbed, arriving at a few feet from the ledge. And Roxanne, I was so close I could see the dimples on her face, as well as her smile. I reached for the edge of the cliff, but Roxanne grabbed my outstretched hand, pulling me onto the ledge. Collapsing next to her, I was covered in sweat. Blood leaked out of my hands. I quickly breathed in and out, trying to get my breathing back to a normal rhythm. Roxanne's lavender perfume wafted over my nose, helping me to relax. Saw her next to me, dressed in her normal leggings and t-shirt. She's never been one for dresses or blouses. I'm glad you're here, I said, as my breathing slowed. I'm glad that I'm here, else he would have been a pancake below. She laughed a little, continued to lay there, feeling the aches in my body beginning to recede. Come on, could have done it, I said, as I sat up. Could you have? Without me? Roxanne sat up as well, narrowing her blue eyes at me. Perhaps. I hung my head a bit. Some silence passed between us. We sat on the edge of the cliff and looked at the vast, empty space before us. How strange it was to look at this view and not see anything beautiful, except for Roxanne. I missed you, I said, breaking the silence. I missed you too. Roxanne only stared at me, curling her lips a bit. Well, are you going to kiss me? I'm really sweaty and my hands are bloody. Why would you want to kiss me right now? I gestured my body. I don't care. Roxanne moved forward and kissed me. Caught off guard, I didn't close my eyes right away. Then I gave in, basking in the pure ecstasy of the moment. It was fantastic. Breaking apart, I felt almost drunk in her presence. I desperately wanted to stay there with her. but I had unfinished business. I have to go. I rose to my feet. Wait. Roxanne followed me and grabbed my hand. I'll go with you. I don't know how far you can go. I felt the familiar warmth of her hand. Doesn't matter. I'll go as far as I can. She stared in my eyes, and I knew that I couldn't stop her. Not like I was going to try. Let's go. Turned and walked over to the rock face. Looking on the mountain, I saw a series of handholds. Past all that, I could see the summit, still shrouded in clouds, still seemingly far away. Ready? Yes. You know I am. Roxanne was already next to me. I nodded, and together we began the next portion of the climb. As I climbed, my sore body began to howl in pain, and my fingers joined the chorus as well. It wasn't long before I was leaving the scarlet stains behind on the rock. I knew that Roxanne could sense the pain in me because every once in a while she would look over me, smile. That was all I needed to keep going. That, and not dying. For the climb, we rarely spoke to each other. A word of encouragement here and there. The only sounds were grunts and our movements up the mountain. Kind of like when we used to, never mind. Eventually, somewhat dense clouds formed around us. I could barely see Roxanne. Roxanne, are you okay? I cried out. Yeah, she yelled back. It sounded like she was only a feet from me. I kept climbing, my body had grown more in pain. My hands had become bloodier and bloodier. So much so that I was starting to lose my grip on the rock. Roxanne, can you see the top? I yelled, fueled by fear. I think so. It's close, she answered me. It sounded like she was only a few feet ahead of me. Picked up the pace. If I didn't get to the top soon, I was scared that I was going to fall, whether due to my overworked muscles or torn up hands, or both. Focused as hard on the climbing as I could. I whipped my hand on my shirt and kept going. Onwards, upwards, forwards, and never backwards, right? After a few more feet, I was coated in sweat and bloody handprints covered my shirt. Must look like John McClane if he was a mountain climber. I'm there, Roxanne shouted out to me. She wasn't far. Using the last drops of my energy, I desperately climbed. The clouds started to part, and I could see Roxanne was a few feet from the summit. She climbed over the edge and looked down at me. Grab it. Roxanne held her hand. I merely nodded and moved farther up the mountain. Reaching the last handhold, I tried to grab it, but my bloody and sweat-drenched palms slipped off of it. Fuck, I yelled as I hung to the side of the mountain with my other hand. Already I could feel that one slipping. Grab my hand. Roxanne held out her hand. Got it. I gritted my teeth and wiped my palm on my shirt. Again, forcing myself, I reached for the handhold again. I grabbed it. Without stopping, I extended my hand to the edge. I gripped it. Then I felt Roxanne's hands on my arm. She pulled me over the edge. Finally, on solid ground, I lay there with Roxanne. Both of us breathing in and out deeply. Sweat coated our bodies. Thanks again, I managed to say. You're welcome. Roxanne answered me back, holding my blood-drenched hand. We lay there together on the summit, trying to get our strength back. The pain in my body slowly started to recede, except for my hands, which screamed in pain from many cuts, the results of the long climb. Let's not do that again, he said as I got up. Couldn't agree more. Roxanne rose to her feet, standing by my side. Looked around us and saw that the summit was fairly small, the size of a tiny living room. Clouds encircled us. Directly in front of me, there was a portal. And I could see myself floating in the capsule surrounded by pills. Looking at myself, I wasn't sure if I was alive or not. I wasn't moving. My eyes weren't even open. I began to walk towards it. Then I saw that Roxanne wasn't going with me. Roxanne, I turned to her. Can't go any farther than that. Roxanne looked away. Why can't you? I asked. Because I don't belong in that world. Roxanne brushed a tear from her eye. You know that I'm not real, right? She looked at me. Of course, but why should that matter? I walked towards her, wanting to hug her. It matters, Matt. Roxanne let me get closer and I took her in my arms. You know that I'm coming back, right? To the real you, I whispered in your ears. Yeah, I know, but the longer you're away, it just feels like you're getting less true. That's getting less true. I'm worried that you're going to die out there, or you'll get back and not want me anymore. Think about these things every day, because that's all I've ever done since you left. I just think. It's terrible. Roxanne placed her face on my shoulder. Then she cried. All I could do was hold her and rub her back, speak softly to her. Soon the crying slowed and she took her face from my shoulder. Her eyes were puffy and bloodshot. Love you, Roxanne. And I'm coming back, okay? I held her cheek. I know, and I love you too. Roxanne withdrew from my embrace. Gotta go. No. Turned away and walked towards the gateway. I looked into it and saw myself. I looked weak, damaged, broken. Why would I ever want to go back to that? What if I stayed here with you? I looked back at Roxanne. You can't stay here, she said to me. Who said I can't? Not like there's a lot waiting for me. I glanced at the portal. No, no, Matt, you have to go back. This place is not for you, Roxanne said to me. You're here. That's enough for me. I took a step towards Roxanne. She walked towards me and placed her hands on my chest. No, Matt, you have to go back, please. For me. She stared at me. Why should I go back? The world's been nothing but cruel and terrible to me. It's broken me daily. It's made me everything I didn't want to be. So why should I go back? I looked in the portal. Because the real me is in there too, and the real you. Both of us there. So if you don't do it for yourself, do it for him. Do it for us. Roxanne begged me. I went quiet. I didn't know what to say. I looked back at the portal, saw myself floating there. Before I thought him to be weak. I mean, why would I go back to someone who was weak? I looked at him again, saw that he was helpless. He needed help. He needed my help. You're right. Turned away and walked over to the portal. Stood right before it, ready to step through. I love you, Roxanne. Goodbye for now, said to her. I love you, Matt, and goodbye for now. She smiled a bit at me. I answered her smile with one of my own. Then I walked into the portal, into the gateway, and back to the other world.